Good morning. Today we're going to take a little break from the Corvette because the MR2 here, well, all her ponies aren't eating. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to find what the problem is. So far I have replaced the throttle position sensor, the coil, the brain, basically the module, spark plugs, which actually spark plugs fixed it for a while, and the coil fixed it for a while, but then it's gone back, and now she's to the point where she's got one pony that's not eating at all. Before it would come and go, anytime it was under power, one would drop out, but now we've got one that's completely missing, and so we're going to try and diagnose that. I've already ordered another distributor since I've replaced everything. We did cap and rotor too. Since I've replaced everything that appears to do with spark, I've done oxygen sensor, basically anything to do with fuel or spark. I've either replaced it or checked it, and so far, every time I did something, it would work for a little while, and then she'd start falling back off. Well, now she's bad enough where I can try to trace it down to which one of them is not firing, and so we're going to do that real quick and see what's not firing. In the meantime, I've got another distributor. Chances are I'm just going to throw it in there since I have it. I shopped around. They were running about $300. I found a few other companies that were about $150 to $170, and then I shopped around a little longer, and I found one for $80. So we bought the cheap one because it just needs to spark. It doesn't need to be fancy. So we're going to use the cheap one. It's got a 1-year warranty. All the other ones have a 1-year warranty. Works for me. So we just want to make sure it works. So I'm probably going to put that distributor in anyway, so you guys are going to come with me on this journey. But in the meantime, we're going to check the spark, see if we can isolate which cylinder isn't firing, and then we're going to go ahead and try to get all of the ponies running together, and then we're going to take her for a ride and see what happens. So stay tuned. Here we go. Because the battery is in the front on an MR2 and the engine is in the back, a typical timing light, or pretty much any kind of tester that requires battery power, isn't going to, well, it's not going to reach from one end to the other. You can put an extension, you can run a long wire. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the fuse panel here, and if you look right here, there's a little boot, and behind the boot is a little terminal. It's got two screws, two nuts on it, and that's a positive battery terminal. Basically, it's where all the positives coming in. And so I'm going to get my trusty Craftsman timing light. This timing light is probably older than most of the people watching right now. I think I bought this timing light when I was about 15, 16 years old, and that was 30, 40 some years ago. So now you all know how old I am. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my inductor and we're going to stick her on a wire. Okay, we're going to take the ground, and we're going to try to find a decent ground. This car is a little bit difficult to find a ground on, so I think I'm going to go with, it's really odd because there's a lot of metal pieces, but for whatever reason they don't ground right, so I'm going to ground it right here to the water neck, and then of course the positive terminal we're going to put over here on the that little positive group that we found over here. Okay, now we're going to start it up. One of the things that I would stress is anytime you're going to run a vehicle and you're not going to be in it, I highly suggest you roll down one of the windows. I've made a habit of that over the years because there's been a few times where you'll be working on a car and you don't realize it, and you've leaned on the lock and you lock yourself out of the car and it's running. So anytime you've got a car running, I highly recommend, that was me swatting a fly by the way, I highly recommend you roll down the window, and that way if you accidentally slam the door with it locked, you're not in trouble. Alright. Well, like the common statement says, when you go to the doctor, the pain goes away. Well, that's exactly what happened. She's running good right this moment, but you'll start to hear she's starting to miss a little bit right now. We're going to let her run for a minute. Oh, there she goes. There she goes. Okay. So now, here we go. Seeing spark? But she's missing good now, so that one's not it. Let's see if it's this one. That one's not it either. Uh-oh. That one's not it either. Uh-oh. Okay. So let's go. I always keep that loose, that way she'll just pull right off. Not a big deal. Down in here, we've got several of those little clippy thingies. You just pull them off. There's a couple of them back here. And then this little girl comes right out. We got to pull this sensor out of here. And this comes right off and out of the way. Alright. She's not filled with room in here, as you can probably see. So we're going to go ahead and pull the coil wire off of here. She's just got a little thumb thingy that you pull up and kind of pull it out. But it's not as easy as it seems. There we go. And then you just kind of wiggle her out of there. See, got that little tab. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's got a little tab right here. Pull that back. Now all the spark plug wires have that same tab. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo the spark plug wires from this loom, so that when I get the cap off, we can just go ahead and just get her out the way. The new distributor comes with a cap, but I think since we're going to have this one's already hooked up, we're just going to go ahead and go with that. The cap has a couple of, I believe they're 8mm hex heads. Some of them will have a Phillips head or an Allen head screw. These are just a socket head, a regular hex head. So I'm going to pull these out of here. Hang on to them once you get them loose, because they're not attached to the cap in any way, so you will lose them. So what I usually try to do is, well, this one's hung in there pretty good. Just try to keep them so they don't get lost, which, good luck with that. Inevitably you'll whack it with your elbow. There's another one on the back side you can't see. You can get a mirror to look for it, or just do like I do and look at it with your hands. Over time you'll get the feel for things like that. And until then, you're kind of blind. But it's not something you can see easily. There we go, pull that out, and there she is. That one does have a Phillips head in it, so you can get it with a Phillips head screwdriver. I recommend using the hex just because it holds it for you once it's loose. I'm going to pull the cap out of here and then get her up out of the way. Now I put a new cap on this not too long ago, and didn't change anything. So what I'm going to do is, just to make my life easier, is I'm going to go ahead and bump the starter until I can get this rotor to come up this way. And it's just for the ease of being able to see the marks. She's kind of greasy here. I'll wipe her off a little bit so I can actually maybe put a mark there. But if I aim it right at this, that's my goal in here. I'm going to aim it right at the screw hole, because it's got a little nib there. Oh, look at that. Grease came right off. It's got a little nib on the distributor. So where the rotor is going to be pointing. But now I've got to clean off a spot right here. So once I got the rotor pointing that way, the distributor's got to go back in the same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to point the distributor to this nib, and then we're going to try to make a mark on the engine, so when I pull the distributor out, the new one can go back in with that rotor pointing in the same direction. Otherwise, you got to put her on top dead center, find number 1 cylinder, aim everything up that way. But if we do this correctly, we won't have to do any of that. We'll just pull this one out, put the other one back in the same way, and hopefully they put the bottom of the distributor, and we'll check all that. What we're going to do is we're got myself a little paint marker, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to wait. I think I was going to get ready to do it, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and bump the starter a couple of times. We're going to try to bring that rotor around. It's going to take a few times, guesswork, just because I don't have anybody to help me here. So we're going to bump the starter a couple times and go that route. And then once we get everything lined up, we'll get started on that. Alright, I had to bump her a few times. It's a little annoying. Found out that this thing is actually turning counterclockwise, which kind of threw me off a little. I thought it was clockwise. It actually turns counterclockwise. Why that matters? Yeah, it doesn't. So I've got the rotor pointing almost straight up. She's slightly off from the tab, but only barely slightly. And when you're fitting it together, so I'm going to put a little mark right here. She's right there. Come on, there we go. Alright, and I'm also going to put a mark right here. Alright, so I'm just going to line those marks up with the rotor when I go to put her in. And everything should be golden on that case. Now, here's the skinny part of it. Now, I do believe that the pickup is right here at the top as well. We want to make sure we don't put the rotor in backwards. So we're going to kind of take a mental note on everything and how everything looks. It looks like we are working with a, I'm going to say that's probably 10 millimeter, maybe 12. I'm going to say it's 12. How about we go with 11? We'll compromise. We'll go with 11 millimeter. No, 12. So anyway. Gotta love these multicolored socket sets. I love my little 1/4 inch socket set here because you can't really over tighten things when you use these small 1/4 inch drives. I suppose you could, but it's probably not going to. And so let's just, well, except for they may not do what you want them to do. So let me go fetch a bigger gun. Alright, got a 3/8 drive. I love the 1/4 inch drive, but I was a little worried I was going to snap. It's on a swivel extension, and I was a little bit worried I was going to snap the extension. So I went ahead and got a 3/8 drive ratchet and broke her loose. Going to pull out this 12 millimeter retaining bolt here, and then we're just going to gently and hope to God there's nothing in there that's going to fall in. If I hear something go tink, then we're in a world of hurt. Here we go. We're going to pull this baby out. And there she is. And we got a nice greasy connector here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. And it's one of those push to release deals too, and they never work right. There we go. I heard it click, so that should theoretically loosen it. Gotta love electrical wires because you really don't want to pull on the wire itself. I heard her release, so she should come out. I feel her moving. But you definitely don't want to be pulling on the wires themselves. So do your best to dadgummit. She's definitely moving, but not very easy. She's beating me up. Let's see if I can. There we go. I just need to get rid of some grease. Alright, well here's the other one. And I don't know, she feels okay, but I did find a little bit of oil up inside, and you can see a little bit in there still. So I'm thinking that maybe that oil has caused some issues. And so we're going to go ahead and take this one out. Now my hands are nice and greasy. I don't really want to touch the new one with that nice greasy. So we're going to clean it up a little bit over here. Trying desperately not to get anything inside the motor or engine. To be politically correct, the motor is actually Elon Musk's deal. He puts motors in his cars because they're electric. And let's see, so we're just going to clean this up. There we go. And I'm actually even going to wash my hands before I touch the new distributor, because I want everything to go in nice and clean. So, because you don't want to be touching the new distributor with that. Here's our new distributor. I went ahead and put a little bit of grease around the O-ring. It doesn't really matter. You know, white lithium's probably preferable. You put a little motor oil. That's what's going to be, eventually it's going to be its home. I put dielectric grease just because it was the fastest tube of grease I could find, and of course dielectric grease never hurts anything because it's, you know, dielectric. So I went ahead and pointed my rotor towards this top. If you look at the old one, I made a little mark. Oddly enough, this one's got a little, kind of a little, I don't know what you'd call it, a nib, kind of in the same spot. So I pointed this generally in the same direction, just for kicks and giggles. I am going to double check. I don't want to touch this, but if I've got these oh, poop, it just moved. But it was pointed in the right direction, in the same direction. And my little forky thing at the bottom, you'll notice that it is pointed in the same direction too. So we should be golden as far as that's concerned. Everything looks like it should line up perfectly. So, and I got dirty again. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and try to slide her right back in to where she was. Maybe we'll go ahead and put the plug in while we've got her out. It's got a seal. This one actually looks like the seal is boogered up. That's awesome. See that little seal right there? Kind of gets a little thin right there. So that's not good. Let's see if the one on the other one looks the same. I'm thinking somehow whoever put this together just kind of boogered it up. Let's see if we can fix it. Oh, there we go. Evidently the 15-year-old or 12-year-old that put this together in China didn't, because they use that slave labor over there just about, just wasn't paying attention when they put that seal in there. But anyway, we went ahead and fixed it. We're going to go ahead and put the wire on there, plug her in. There we go. Got nice and dirty doing that. And we're just going to go ahead and make sure that it's pointed basically in the right direction. And it should go right in. And there we go. She went right in. Now we're going to be timing. Hopefully will be just about the same because, again, we made marks and made mental notes. Going to put our screw back in. If we have to adjust her, we will. But basically, what we want to see is if it fixed our problem. So let's go ahead and tighten this back up. Now I was looking at the cap, and the cap looks a little different, and I don't know if it's cheaper or better. I'm thinking probably cheaper. It looks like a cheaper grade. But I also noticed that if you look at that center piece of graphite right there, it looks like it's sticking out more on the new cap. You know, could just be the design, it could be my imagination. But I was thinking about changing the cap out just because I was nervous about that. But